aka Indigo Sky, aka Trigger Ranking. So basically, this video right here, this is a little live or whatever I'm doing. Um, basically, I want to kind of revisit, what was going on with Pop Smoke, and the whole case or whatever. Some of the guys got some time. I think one of the guys he did maybe a little bit of time, and he's already out. Most of the people who had something to do with Pop Smoke not being alive anymore, basically they they were kids. They were like young teenagers. So um, it's always been believed that somebody dropped his location. I believe that definitely was the case. Somebody dropped his location. And if you think about it, that's how Julio got taken out. Julio got taken out of here the same way. He basically gave his location away, told people where he was going to be, what part of town, the parties, all of that, and they took that information and they ran with it. You know what I'm saying? So crazy, crazy shit, crazy man, it's crazy, bro. But yeah. So yeah, let's get into this, man. Let me cut my music on. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me cut my speaker on so everybody can hear this. All right, so boom, we're gonna get started with this. Yo, what up, yo? So yeah, we're gonna get started with this video. I don't think I can show this, but yeah.
He was a rising star in the rap industry. At just 20 years old, he already collaborated with some of the biggest names in the game: Nicki Minaj, Travis Scott, Lil Baby, Gunna, Quavo, and Dua Lipa. He was on his way to the top February 19th of 2020. That's when Bashar Jackson was in the swanky Hollywood Hills on a 4-day trip. Now, you might not know him by his government name, Bashar. You probably know him better as Pop Smoke. That day, Pop Smoke was in the upstairs bedroom of the Airbnb he was staying.
So he in an Airbnb. This guy's from New York. He's in an Airbnb all the way in New York. I mean, no, not New York. He's in an Airbnb all in LA. You know what I'm saying? So, um, there are some rumors that Pop Smoke had something to do with taking a car or something like that. And when he took the actual car, um, he didn't return the car. And they said that the guy who he took the car from was like kind of like in the game. So yeah, what up, what up? Yeah, so yeah, let's keep going with it, y'all.
And taking a shower when suddenly 4 masked men burst into there, pistol whipped him, and shot him 3 times. Investigators say the group found the address of where Pop Smoke was staying at from a photo posted to Instagram. By July 9th of the same year, LAPD announced they arrested 5 people in connection to the Brooklyn rapper's murder, including 19-year-old Corey Walker and 3 other teens whose names haven't been released because of their age. Now,
So look, 3 of the teens, they basically was underage. This guy right here was 19, so he can get charged. I guess he might be able to get charged as an adult. So I think he gonna get a lot of time since he's 19. But the other 3 people that had something to do with this, they weren't even of age to even A lot of people don't know in DC they had this thing called I think it's YBC, the Young Boy Clique or whatever. And basically the Young Boy Clique, it was a whole like this older guy. He basically used to get younger kids or whatever to do all the crimes that they wanted to be done. So basically, when the crimes were actually done, they were done by minors. So they wouldn't even really be getting no time. So he wasn't trying to put um, the people who are of age um, in any harm's way, but you put the children in harm's way. That's crazy. Um, if y'all know the name, tell me. I don't know. I forget, but I know the clickers think it's YBC. But yeah, let's finish. Keep going.
Or as that fifth suspect who was arrested, he was ultimately not charged with Pop Smoke's death, but reportedly implicated in an unrelated string of shootings from earlier that year. So what went down? LAPD says Pop Smoke was shot by a 15-year-old, and the teens were at the Airbnb to steal his diamond Rolex and Cuban link chain. They reportedly only ended up stealing his watch and sold it for just $2,000. But Pop Smoke put up a fight. The teen shooter reportedly said they asked for his jewelry, then they got into a fight. That's when the rapper was pistol whipped and shot multiple times. Now, one of the men arrested, Corey Walker, reportedly admitted to his role in the murder after he was recorded talking to an informant. He allegedly told this informant they used a police scanner to carry out the attack. So how were they caught?
Damn, they were smart enough to have police scanner. Wow, that's crazy. They had a whole police scanner out there with them, y'all. And these kids, man, come on, bro. Everybody is under 18 except for one person.
An LAPD detective testified previously that surveillance video tied Corey Walker to Pop Smoke's murder. That video reportedly showed an Infiniti bringing the suspects to the Airbnb, and the license plate was traced to Corey. Previously, Corey Walker denied that he even set foot inside that rental and remained inside that car. But the prosecution slammed that theory after they claimed Corey Walker surveilled the Airbnb hours before the robbery and even argued he was aware the other suspects planned to rob Pop Smoke at gunpoint. Now, those details came to light back in 2021. Fast forward to 2025, a lot has changed. The then 15-year-old shooter admitted to killing Pop Smoke in May of 2023. He's expected to be in a state juvenile facility until he turns 25.
So look, the dude who actually killed Pop Smoke was 15 years old. And he took a man's life and he'll be able to be out by the time he's 25. So, yeah, that's crazy. A 15-year-old could take somebody's life and be out by the time they're 25. I don't know, is that crazy to y'all or not, or what y'all think? But yeah, that's some wild stuff, man.
Couldn't be charged as an adult under state law. Meanwhile, the 17-year-old who was also involved also pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and home invasion. He was sentenced to 4 years and 2 months in a juvenile facility. And then the third teen involved also reportedly settled his case and was sent to a post-conviction juvenile housing facility. As for Corey Walker, who was accused of leading the other 3 teens to the Airbnb, he was set to go on trial this week. Now, although his lawyer previously denied that he even went into the home, he ultimately chose to plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter, home invasion robbery with gun and gang enhancements. According to Rolling Stone, under this deal, prosecutors dropped the murder charge. But he also pleaded guilty to robbing the woman who was also at the home at the time of the murder. When he was asked by the state if he agreed to the facts of the case, including that he cased the rental with a 17-year-old accomplice, left to recruit others, and returned in a different car with ski mask, gloves, a police scanner to avoid being caught, and provided a 9mm gun to one of the teens, he replied, yes. Initially, after Corey's arrest, prosecutors announced he would be eligible for the death penalty. However, under this deal, he's now facing 29 years in prison, where he's set to be sentenced at a later date. As for Pop Smoke's family, well,
so the dude that was 19 that was with them, he's probably, they say he might get he's gonna probably get 29 years. That's kind of, I don't know. In some states, life is 25. Some states, life, if you get natural life, that's basically you're never getting out. Life without parole, you're never getting out. Life with parole, you have a chance to get out after a certain amount of time. You got to go up in front of the parole board and things of that nature like that to try to, basically plead your case for you to re-enter society after you've done something heinous, a heinous act or whatever. But yeah, so let's keep going, y'all. Let's keep going.
His mom is thankful justice in a way was served. She told Rolling Stone that the heartache of her son's murder hasn't ended for her. She told the outlet, quote, "It's over for everybody except for me. This never ends for me, and that's unfair. I'm grateful that the culprits were caught. I appreciate they got justice to the fullest extent of the law. But my life doesn't change. I still don't have my son. I will continue to work on his legacy, but that's also a constant reminder that he's not here." Just a devastating.
And it's crazy because the mother has to basically, the mother basically, she lost her son. She don't get her son back, and them little guys, most of them, they'll be out by 10 years. So, like, that one dude, he probably don't get. They said 29. That's still, you still took somebody's life though, bro.
Case for Pop Smoke's mother and for all those who loved him and knew him. I'm joined now by attorney and former federal prosecutor Nima Rahmani. Nima, always great to see you. Pop Smoke was so young when he was shot and killed. Now one of the defendants is pleading guilty. He was supposed to go on trial this week, but what do you make of his guilty plea?
I'm not surprised, Elizabeth. The writing was on the wall. This is a very strong case, and it was a potential capital case. And of course,
So he took a plea. Old boy took a plea deal.
California hasn't had the death penalty in many years, but we have a new district attorney in town, and that's Nathan Hoffman, and he's very different from his predecessor, George Gascon. So this is the type of case that could have put Walker in prison for the rest of his life.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, initially
So y'all hear what he said? He could have put him in prison for the rest of his life, but he got lucky. He got 29 years. And depending on, I think it's a state case. It's not federal. A lot of people, when they get federal time, the federal time is basically more. What up? What up? The federal time is basically more because of the feds is different, bro. Like their time, like if they give you 60 years, they gave my homeboy 60 years. He got to do 60 years. He don't get like half time and all that. Like if you go to if you don't go to federal prison, it's a possibility you could actually, you know what I'm saying, get out before, the actual time they give you. Like say they give you 30 years. You might be home in 20. They call some of that, they call it like good time or something like that, stuff like that. So I know if you become like a trustee or whatever, like a hand cooking and all this other stuff, that helps knock off time, but that's regular prison, not federal. Regular schmegular. But yeah.
Prosecutors were kind of touting that he was eligible for the death penalty. So how do you go from kind of touting that to giving a plea deal, not even for life in prison, but just 29 years? Is it because he didn't pull the trigger that killed Pop Smoke?
Well, that's part of it, but we know that if you're...
So part of it is why he got 29 years. He didn't actually pull the trigger because we all just said earlier, the 15-year-old boy was the one who actually popped Pop Smoke and unalived him and stuff like that. So, yeah, man.
Involved in a home invasion robbery and a murder results, that's felony murder. This is something that we all learn as lawsuits. So you're responsible for one of your co-defendants or co-conspirators actually pulling the trigger. Now, of course, that's evidence of mitigation, so something that prosecutors will take into consideration. Obviously, the fact that someone pleads guilty, accepts responsibility, it usually will result in a lesser sentence as well. But this isn't the type of case that Walker could have pushed to trial. I mean, there's no real legal defense here. This was a case that was going to resolve through pretrial negotiation, like the vast majority of criminal cases do. And the fact that he got something less than life and got 29 years really is probably consistent with what we've seen the resolution of other murder cases here in LA County.
So they say LA County Instead of them go, they're gonna try to give you they'll if you. And he probably took the first plea. He probably wasn't even smart enough to be like, nah, I'll take it to trial. Some people they be like, nah, I don't like that deal. Let's go to trial. And a lot of times they don't like to go to trial because they don't like to spend money. When you go into trial, you spending money, bro. Like the Young Thug case in Atlanta, it costs a lot of money for that case to go that long. That was like I think that was one of the longest cases in Georgia history, the Young Thug case or whatever. And all that time they was up, they was spending money, and shit, a lot of things came out, bro. So
And of course, he wasn't the only defendant in this case. Talk to me a little bit about sentencing teenagers in California. In this case, the teens involved
now
could
they
be
talking
all
about the
under
teenagers.
25 years old, including the teen who actually shot and killed Pop Smoke.
This is something that a lot of people are talking about, and our juvenile justice. So here it's called the delinquency court system. It's really not set up to punish. The stated purpose is to rehabilitate. Now, of course, we know that under California.
So basically, they saying like you can for the youth that get locked up in California. Um, yeah, the youth, even if I guess they take somebody's life, they still trying to reintroduce them back into the population. So like that's crazy too. It's like they trying to push these people back out into the world, and sometimes you got to think about it. Is it really, do you think something like that is actually possible? Do you feel like they're just putting a hardened criminal back on the streets to do whatever they wanted to do before they was, adults or whatever? So, but maybe it does help some youth that's locked up to be rehabilitated. But some people, I don't know how to say. Well, yeah, some people just stuck on stupid. We'll say that. We'll say that. Some people stuck on stupid, but yeah.
Where teenagers as young as 13, they can be charged with serious crimes like this. But it's pretty rare for someone that young to be charged with murder. Oftentimes, they work their way through the delinquency court system. So they're gonna try to be rehabilitated because the way the law works is obviously you're 18, you're gonna be charged as an adult. Even I believe a 17-year-old in this case was charged as an adult. When you start getting teens that are younger, 14, 15, it's far less common for them to go to adult criminal court.
And the defense attorney for the 15-year-old shooter told Rolling Stone that his client was remorseful, saying that he was born in custody to a mom that was incarcerated, given to a community, or grew up in a community, I should say, that compelled him into associating with gangs. What do you kind of make of that statement, given his actions, clearly had devastating consequences?
Well, certainly not an excuse to take someone's life. And really, most murders are senseless, but this one was particularly senseless. You're talking about robbing someone for their watch, maybe worth $2,000. Was that worth taking someone's life? Obviously, these are individuals that confessed, they accepted responsibility, expressed remorse. There should be some consideration given, but it's certainly not a legal defense or an excuse because of the difficult upbringing.
And I think one thing that, sticks out to me in this case, like a lot of cases that involve rappers, is that people seem to be looking to kind of either rob them, possibly even kill them in some cases and scenarios that we've seen. We've seen this in PNB Rock, we've seen this with Julio in Florida, but also in this case too, where people are tracking down rappers by the use of their social media pages.
I hear what you said. They're tracking down rappers with their social media pages. So yeah, man, y'all posting all this stuff online and everything, bro. It's not worth your life, man. I promise you it ain't worth your life. Stop posting. Everybody don't need to know everything you doing, in your life or whatever. Like, for real, for real. Everybody don't need to know your business. Sometimes it's better for people not to know what's going on in your life. Chicago, y'all. Cause I don't want to mess with live up. This I like this one, so let's keep going.
Are you seeing a lot of that as well too? And can you talk to me a little bit about, just the danger, associated with, some rappers, they just want to post on social media, but then that leads to terrible consequences sometimes.
It really, you're absolutely right, Elizabeth, and it shows one of the major problems with social media. And in addition to people you named Nipsey Hussle, right? I'm sitting here in Los Angeles. I live and work in Los Angeles, and we've had a lot of robberies, including home invasion robberies, and a lot of it is people trying to flex on the gram and post, their valuables on social media. Some of them do have those valuables, and which makes it incredibly stupid. Some people don't, and they're trying to act richer than they are. But either way, it is not smart. Post your location, post your valuables on social media in real time.
That's exactly what I just said. Do not post on social media all this money and all that, bro. Ain't nobody got a name, bro. I used to work in a jewelry store that sold Rolexes. Bro, some of the people that came in there that bought watches, bro, you wouldn't even know they had money, bro. Just by looking at them. You know what I'm saying? So, like, bro, like, you know. I don't get it. I don't get putting yourself in harm's way, like, that's dangerous, bro. That's dangerous, kid. But yeah, let's finish. Let's finish listening to what he's saying about this jewelry and stuff, dog.
People are targeted. Again, not an excuse, but if you are in a gang or you're looking to rob someone, everyone's on social media. It's very easy to see, well, hey, this person's got an expensive car, they have bags, they have watches. This is someone that I'm going to target.
Yeah, it's just terrible stuff. And of course, you added Nipsey Hussle as well, too. I remember when that had all happened. In this case, another thing that stands out to me is just how young all the defendants were. We have 15, 16, 17, 18 years old when all of this went down. What do you make of just how young these defendants were? Is that something that you see a lot in Los Angeles in these types of cases where, these young teenagers are planning out what was supposed to be a robbery that ended up turning into a deadly shooting?
I do see it, unfortunately. Obviously, I was a prosecutor for many years, but my wife is a lawyer for foster kids. And kids that grow up in foster care, at least here in California, it's terrible. More than 50% of them, by the time they turn 18 or shortly thereafter, within a few years of turning 18, they're homeless, dead, trafficked, and prison. Really, again, I'm not saying that this is because of the foster care system, but this is a problem with.
Hold on, give me a second. They're blowing me up, Oh man, come on. I don't want to call while I'm online. Come on, all right.
Children and young adults that don't have that structure, oftentimes they do end up either criminals or victims of crime.
And I want to kind of go back to Corey Walker's, the aspect of his case. His sentencing hearing is coming up at the end of this month. Does the judge have any discretion as far as lessening the sentence, or is it going to be, he, under this deal, it was 29 years, so 29 years is what he'll be sentenced to, or does the judge have discretion to go lower, possibly even higher, even though there is a deal at play?
So there's different types of deals, and sometimes the defendant will plead and the parties will agree to argue it out before the judge, right? The defendant will recommend one sentence, the prosecution another. The judge will decide, can go somewhere within that range, higher or even lower potentially.
So he said it could be higher or lower potentially. You know what I'm saying?
When you have a deal like this in state court, typically the judge will look.
State, I would tell y'all that earlier. State versus federal. Federal. Yeah, you gonna do all your time, buddy. They give you 69 years, you gotta do 69 years, fam. Oh, so hold on, y'all. Let me plug up right quick, make sure my phone don't die. Set this right here. Hold on, Bridget. Let me make sure my phone is together. I don't want to lose it tonight. This was a good one. All right, cool.
Or stamp the joint recommendation of the parties. And the judge can reject the deal outright because, look, let's be honest here. This was a murder, right? This was a felony murder. You have someone pleading guilty of voluntary manslaughter. So what's voluntary manslaughter? That's typically when you walk in on your spouse with someone else and
They said they classified that as voluntary manslaughter. So he didn't even get charged with Pop Smoke murder. It wasn't even a murder. It was basically they said it was voluntary manslaughter. That's what he pleaded out to. That's crazy.
fit of rage, you kill them. That's something lesser than first or second degree murder. It's still homicide. But that's typically what that's used for. Or sometimes you'll see voluntary manslaughter in what we call an imperfect self-defense case. Someone unreasonably thinks that they're at risk of death or serious bodily injury and they use deadly force. They're not privileged to do so because the belief was unreasonable. Again, that's voluntary manslaughter, but this case is not voluntary manslaughter.
That's
So,
murder.
if the judge is looking at this and says, well, how does the facts of this case apply to the charge? Potentially, the judge could reject it, but I think that's really unlikely, Elizabeth. I think judges, when there's a deal in the prosecution and the defense, they often, usually almost all the time, go along with it.
And, as a former federal prosecutor, do you think that the district attorney's office or prosecutors in this case felt pressure to, ensure a conviction in these cases? There's always that option, had they gone to trial, there's that possibility, that slight possibility, it could have come back as a not guilty verdict or a hung jury, but with this deal, it would have just, made sure that they assured a conviction in this case. Do you think that's what happened here, or do you think that that's just pretty typical in the courts where a deal can be placed even though they were set and ready to go for trial?
These types of deals are typical. Again, very few cases go all the way to trial, usually about 1 or 2%. Murder cases are much more likely to go to trial because if you're a prosecutor, it's tough to give a discount in a case like this, right? Usually, who's lost their life is the most heinous act of all. Now, the reason why so many cases plead is because these types of generous offers and discounts are made and given. And our system isn't set up for every case to go to trial. Obviously, we know how backed up the courts are, not just here in Los Angeles, but all throughout the country. And if every case goes to trial, think of the judge time, think of the court staff time, think of all the people that don't even want to serve on juries, right? If every case goes to trial, I think our system would fall apart. So I understand the criticism. People probably are saying, well, hey, you killed someone. You're only getting 25 years and you're going to serve not the full amount. So I completely get it. And I would be very upset too if I were the victim's family here potentially. But I'm just talking generally speaking, why so many cases do plead out. It's really a conservation of resources issue, right? Between the courts and the prosecution and the defense lawyers, public defender's office. They have hundreds, sometimes even thousands of cases to go through, and this is how they manage that flow.
All right, well, excellent insight from you, Nima. I really appreciate your time today. Before we send you off, what do you think happens at the sentencing hearing? Do you expect this defendant, Corey Walker, do you expect him to say that he's remorseful once he's actually formally sentenced?
I do, Elizabeth. Here's someone who's confessed, someone who's getting a very good deal, should be thanking his defense lawyer. So I would not be surprised if he does accept responsibility, express remorse, address the court, maybe even the victims' families, and apologize for this really, really senseless murder. They're all senseless, this one especially. It's very sad and tragic.
It's very devastating. Nima, again, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's crazy. But yeah, that's wild work right there. Yeah, but I just wanted to basically revisit that whole Pop Smoke thing, man. It's crazy because at the end he said, Oh yeah, at the end he was like the dude got lucky, and I kept talking about the state and the feds or whatever. But basically, the best thing that's going on for this dude is if he would have went to court, he probably would have got more time. So by him getting 29 years, he might be out in we might say 20. They might knock off like 9 years or some shit. Like especially what I was telling y'all earlier about the whole that little system they got in jail or whatever. If you like willing to be like a worker and shit in there, like serve food and clean up and all that kind of shit. But, yeah, man. Shit, y'all kicking me in the Karma Cafe, man. Want y'all to like, subscribe, share. Definitely hit the notification bell. Yeah, man. Y'all come back. I'll be back. Might come at night, but yeah, I'll holler at y'all. Peace and one.